Hello, everyone. As we said in previous video, we will show you a practical way how to use two workshops, constellations, where do I belong, and also map is not my territory. And I will share the steps how to lead this workshop, and Marcela will show you practically how to set up the constellations. So we will start in the toolkit. When you open up Constellation Toolkit, this workshop, Where Do I Belong, is on the 75th page, and it's the 14th workshop. So here in the beginning, you can see the context. Maybe Marcela can briefly share.
Yes, the context is working on on building the sense of belonging, belonging to the primary group of people we are born into, because there are many, as humans, we belong to many groups. We belong to some groups by choice, and we belong to some groups just by default, by being born into them, like family, community, country, nationality. And the starting point for this workshop was the belief that belonging has a huge impact on our identity and the way, the behavior, the norms that we take over, how we live our lives, and who we essentially become as grown-ups. So this is the point, to see where do I belong in terms of my family, my country, my nation, and how it shapes me as an individual.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that the duration of the workshop is 90 minutes, but it's up to you. You can decide, is it shorter, is it longer? How do you divide this workshop? It's up to you and your possibilities. Yes, this workshop has been tested and tried out by Forum for Freedom and Education, but it is something that we have tested out with youth, and it can be easily applied in other countries and easily applied also working with adults. So materials, what do we need for this workshop, Marcela?
Yes, well, there is a variety of materials that you can try out. There are some that we will show you today. For example, colorful pens, papers, markers, smaller A4 papers, A3 papers, even bigger flip chart papers if you have them available, scissors, glue, wooden pegs, buttons, shells, stones, any kind of material, or maybe you can take from board games some of these like small elements that exist inside. We will show you step by step. Yes.
Yeah, so on the next page you can see the steps, and you easily follow them one by one, and it is helping you to go through the workshop. And today we will demonstrate how this workshop can be implemented. So my task on this video will be to share the steps, and Marcela will more comment and see practically how it is done. So the first step, what you ask for the youngsters, is to create a circle and to say their names and where do they belong, where they are coming from, and some kind of setting the background on and the mood of the group. And yeah, you can introduce what does the belonging means to you. It's very often that youngsters are more trusting to us if we are setting our own personal commitment to the workshop. If we are sharing something about ourselves, if we are sharing what does it mean really for me, and what does it mean, the sense of belonging, to whom do I belong, and like opening up a bit the personal story as well. And yeah, and then we ask youngsters to write where do they belong, what kind of relationship or communities, social groups. So let them a free space to discover where do they sense this belonging to the wall, to the groups. What is the next thing what we do, Marcela?
Yes, from talking about belonging in general, we can move on to talking about family. And for me, it was the first time that I was meeting these students, so I really didn't know what was their family situation. So we talked a bit about the family. I shared my own stories, and who belongs to my family. And then they were introduced with who is considered to be a part of the family. So who are all of those members who belong to a family system. And we were talking about how the family they were born into, how it has an impact on their life, what they like about their families, what they dislike, maybe they're not very satisfied with it. So it was basically talking about the family as something every day. And we also talked about how every family is different, how every family is special, and everyone has something different happening in their family system. In the workshop, you can see we prepared materials that you can cut out. So in step 7, it's basically telling them that they will create their own family portraits by cutting out these shapes, and then they write on top of them the names or the functions of family members.
So what do we do then? What is the first thing what we do when we have this worksheet, or what is the first thing that the youngster needs to do?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the first thing we tell them that the aim of the workshop is for them to create their own family portrait, that each of them will have a chance to create their own either 2D or 3D family portrait, and that by the end of the session they will go and visit each other. So each of them creates their own image or representation, and later on they can move from one desk to another, from one family system to another, and we basically invited them to share whatever they feel like sharing, to present their family, who is there, why they consider them important, and to share some family stories if they want. That's the first step. And after that, we just give them all the materials that you have at disposal, and we can explain to them who belongs to the family, like parents, grandparents, partners of grandparents, new partners, old partners, aunts, uncles. Maybe for some of them, there are some other people who they find significant, but they don't necessarily belong through bloodline, through belonging to the family. But I found it important that we allow them to put them also in their family portrait, because they are for some reason meaningful for them. So this is just some of the family members they can represent.
Very often youngsters are asking me, should I put my pets in the family portrait, or should I put my friends, because this is also the age when the friends are a meaningful part of their lives. How do you do that? Do you say yes? Do you say no?
Yes, well, the first step definitely is the invitation for them to set up the basic ones. So really to focus on the family. All of those that are related through 2, 3, 4 generations, depends how much time and materials we have. And then, it has been, I saw that it is meaningful for them to put pets as well. Some of them even were representing chickens and all the animals that they have in their that they take care of in the family. So we started from the basic family unit and all the members, and then if there was time, we were expanding to pets, and maybe even some of them represented some important neighbors. And some of them represented friends, but for me it felt more like that friend also is considered as a part of the family to some extent. But it depends on the group you're working with. Can be, but doesn't have to be.
Okay, I see that you also have prepared a table. Could you demonstrate us? How would you do that then?
Yes, so here it's in the workshop you have these the shapes. Just a moment. The shapes that you can cut out, and for example, I have them cut out of felt material, so it's practical to use them if you want to use them more than once in different sizes and different shapes. So it's the same, this basically the same worksheet that Lauma is showing in the toolkit. So this is one way how you can do it to make a 2D, just draw something on the paper or stick on the paper. And these shapes, students cut out these shapes and they can write names on them, they can color them in any way, write symbols, something that is meaningful for them. And then based on what they have written down, they simply put them, I don't know if you can see, but
yeah, now we can see.
Yes, but they take a piece of paper. I will use this as so it is easier to turn it around for me. And then they simply put all of these papers with names or functions of family members into they glue it on the paper, or they draw it if you're not using the worksheet. So it can be done in a different way.
Marcela, usually I get the questions from you, which should be the first one, which element should be the first one to place?
Yes, we always start from ourselves. So it is, yeah, thanks for the question, very good question. So I choose one element or a piece of paper or a shape that represents me. So I will, I have some extra resources here. So if you're lucky and you have it at your disposal, you can choose something like a shell or button and place it to represent yourself. So this is where we always start. And it's important to have to take into consideration that this is my picture. This is my version of what I see that is happening in my system. And I had cases of two twins. They were in different classes, so they are not going to school together, but they are on purpose put in two different classes, and we worked with both of them, and it was interesting because they set up totally different things. So yeah, they had similar topics happening, but the whole representation was totally different. So it also gave me an insight that each member from the family has a different picture and will set up a different situation.
Okay, so what is happening when a person or a youngster has set up this first picture?
Yes, so I will just show you a bit. I will add more. For example, if you have this some kind of additional material, give them some time. They really loved it. The moment they saw all of these materials, I couldn't stop them from taking it. And it was like a meditation, 20 minutes of pure meditation. And they were so focused on what they were setting up. And it was really amazing to see. So allow them enough time that they really set up. And I was all the time going around and asking them, okay, what else? They were asking additional questions. They also asked, they said, oh, my grandmother died. Should I also include her? And yes, it doesn't matter if somebody is alive or died, they still belong to the family system. So this was, let's say, the first step that they set up, as we called it, a family portrait. And they were all working with these wooden pegs. And the next step was the invitation for them that we go to visit each other's families. So we were going from one family to another, and they were basically saying, okay, this is me, this is my father, my mother, and I don't know, my grandmother and her second family, or this is my uncle, he lives here or there, and these are my cousins. So they were basically just explaining what they set up. And some of them even shared family stories, something that was meaningful for them. And we called this an exhibition. So we went to visit each other, and after that, shortly reflected on what happened, how the activity was for them, what they learned about themselves and their families, what they learned about others and families of others. So yes.
What are the insights, what you see, what does this constellation or setting this family portrait is giving to youth?
It is, it is difficult to explain what is it that it really shows or gives to them. What I noticed is that they were very proud of, and they were really open to sharing, even though for some it was maybe a bit difficult. There were some cases with some tragedies in the families, and it was I saw that it was painful for them, but somehow they managed to get through it. And I saw a lot of like their faces were shining when they were speaking about their families. And I felt that it connected them inside of the group much more. And they were sharing that it was amazing that they learned so many things about their friends and peers in the class. And what I noticed that it gives strength. And this is what we have been talking about in terms of sense of belonging. When we have this sense of belonging, especially when we get it from the family, from the first group that actually we meet when we come to the world, it gives a person more strength to realize, okay, I belong to a bigger network. I'm not alone. There is someone to rely on. All of these people can support me. And yeah, it was really, really amazing to see.
I can add to Marcela, I have also tried this activity, and what I noticed is that really what you said, that they increase this sense of belonging, that I do belong somewhere, and I have these people around me. And yes, as you said, sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes they are really involved divorces or some kind of tragedies, but it is also helping to acknowledge, okay, it is like it is, and it's not good, it's not bad, it is like it is. And it creates learning space, seeing that each family can be different. And it also helps to create this context, that, okay, now I know that my classmate has more brothers that he needs to take care of, after the school. And even for the teacher, very often he doesn't know what's going on in the context. And this exhibition creates more this understanding and sense of belonging also to classmates, that we are different, we are diverse, and it's fine. There's no one family, and it also can increase empathy, that if something there has happened, like a tragedy in the family, it can create empathy towards other classmates. Okay, it is maybe there are some difficulties that he is going through, and it's not connected with the studies, but it's connected the context where he's coming from the family. So I noticed that it is really bringing them closer as the classmates as well, and bringing closer themselves towards their own family.
Yes, totally. I can relate to it and agree. We had the same situation.
Okay, this is one workshop. Yeah, here are some guidelines for implementation. For example, that you can give this preparation task before the workshop. What would be this preparation, Marcela?
Yes, some of our colleagues have done these workshops with other students in other schools, and they found it very valuable to give a task to do a bit of research or to draw their own family tree before doing this one. So their task was a bit to ask their families who is there, maybe to see who nobody talks about, what happened, and they were quite open to it. So they had they already came to this workshop with drawings of their family trees. So they did a bit of background investigation about who their grandparents are. Maybe they haven't met them, or great parents, what they did, what were their professions, where they lived. So it was a short research task, which can then help and make this activity better, but it's not obligatory. You can try it out in both versions.
Okay, this is one workshop that we wanted to share with you. And another one is a map is not a territory. That is like connected with sense of belonging very strongly, but a bit in different context. What would be this context, Marcela?
Yes. So as we are born into families, we are also born in certain countries. We are born on a specific territory, in maybe a village or a city or a bigger territory. And this too has an impact on identity and um, how we see ourselves in our lives. And there have been many migrations in the past for different reasons. And what I have noticed is that it also helps to students to see this bigger picture, where my ancestors come from, where my parents come from, if they come from different parts of the country. Some of them had parents from different countries. Some were born in one country and then moved to another. Then somebody in the family migrated during the war, maybe, or for economic reasons. And it was very natural to speak about all of these topics. So being a part of this broader system, a community, a village, a city, or country, ethnic group, race, it also creates a sense of belonging. And this was the starting point to see where am I in relationship to this bigger collective system.
And adding to that, the title of the workshop, that the map, what I get, and what I have in my family, maybe it's not always saying that this is the only territory where I belong. Most likely I belong to even more countries or more territories. So the invitation for youth is to discover more their connections, more their sense of belonging to other countries, cultures, communities. So more explore this sense of belonging. Yeah, and this workshop also has been tested and created by Marcela also, but we have tried it in other countries as well, and not only with youth, but also with youth workers and educators as well. What about materials? What are the materials that we need?
Yes, well, it can be basically the same materials or different materials. I have, for now, just prepared a bit different setting for this topic. So you see also a different version how it can be done, but it can be the same as we did with figurines. You can cut out those shapes and use it for this workshop as well. So it can be anything from paper, pens, markers, post-its, buttons, papers, chairs, even shoes, whatever you have at your disposal.
And once we have these materials done, as Marcela said, don't stick to them. You can really adapt to your reality, try out materials what you have, or the setting where maybe it's not a classroom, maybe it's outside room. Maybe you can change also the space. Maybe you can go outside in the good weather. It's really be flexible with this. But when we start this workshop, again, we create a common space to share. What does it mean, belonging to myself? What does it mean to youth? What does it mean to belong to the country? What does it mean to belong to different countries? And again, be brave to share your own story. Be brave to share, okay, my grandparents are coming also from another country. My parents were born even in the country that doesn't exist anymore. It's how does it influence me as well? So it is a bit vulnerable for us as a facilitators, but it creates a lot of trust and a lot of actually belonging to each other as well with youth.
Yes, totally. And for me, I was in one school where one part of my family comes from. And then I told to the youngsters and I said, well, maybe we are also family, because some part of my family 3 generations ago comes from this area. And they were immediately curious. They asked me about all the surnames that were in the family, and they were immediately hooked and they wanted to know more about it. So it was immediately created this sense of just belonging. I somehow also belong to that place, and they belong also to me.
So what are the places that we could say, okay, these we can put in the map, and here are the some examples that use can include the map.
Yes, so these are just some. Potentially there are also different places, but it would be, the starting point would also be I. So the place meaning can be country only, can be city, can be a village where I was born. And then if I moved maybe to a different country, places where I lived, and the places where I live now at the moment. Could be that all of this is the same, but could be that it is different because, yeah, different people have different dynamics. After that, we go to the parents. So we also take a look. So where is the place or the country where my parents were born? Where do they live now? Where they maybe lived in the past? And again, the same for grandparents and other ancestors. What can be included is also the places or the countries where they migrated. This was a common theme, topic, especially in Croatia during the war. Many people migrated, so we have a family all over the world in different continents. And what I was also including in these workshops is places which attract them for any reason. They don't know why. From experience working with these topics, there is usually a reason why we are attracted to a certain place or a certain country, and somehow could be that this country also belongs to the family system. We are just not aware of it. And another step that they tried, it's not here, but it can also be just working with the countries or places where they want to move, in case they are considering this option to moving after school, to change the city, to change the country, to just explore a different territory. And we were working with these topics as well. But you can, again, choose if you just want to work with personal places where the person was born, parents, grandparents, or you can also expand to other points.
So when we have discovered these places, what is the next step, what we do?
Yes. So in the workshops we were doing, each person got one A3 paper. So imagine that this is my paper. It's my home office multi-purpose wall. So for this purpose, it was transformed to be an imaginary map. And it's always good to somehow, even if you're working just on the table, somehow to put the limits. To represent the limitation. Okay, this is my family system, and it has limits, it has boundaries. So I'm not unlimited, or my family is not unlimited in this sense. So we all have boundaries of our personal boundaries, and then family boundaries, and then country boundaries, etc. So yeah, we worked with papers, and they were basically drawing all of these countries or places, territories on the paper. So I will just show you some. I have post-its which I will stick on the wall. So let's say that this is my starting point. This is the country where I was born. This is where country where I live at the moment. So it could be that I was born in a different place, and then it's also possible to add more elements. Then I will add just a place where my father was born, because my parents, they come from different parts of the country. So it can be represented like this somehow. And then I can also add, I was born in one country, then my parents were born in a different country that doesn't exist anymore. And then you can go further in the past. Okay, where is maybe Yugoslavia? Where is Austrian-Hungarian Empire, where my ancestors come from? Some of us have mixed origins just from the parent side. So here you can include also different countries. Maybe one parent comes from Slovenia, another one comes from maybe Bosnia, or there is a bigger difference. One parent comes from Latvia, another from UK, or maybe in terms of continents, one comes from Australia and another one comes from US. So there are plenty, and then they maybe live in Germany. So all of these countries or places we include into the map to investigate the relationship, how it is for a person, how they feel in relationship to each of these places.
And when they have finished each of them, this is something that they do individually, right?
Yes, yes, it's individually. They could be drawing or painting, whatever is working for them.
And what is happening when they have finished?
Yes, when the finish is, it's pretty much, you can do the same thing. They can sit in a circle, or we can have an exhibition like in the previous workshop, and simply allow them to share what is there. That is enough. There is no need to ask for explanations. Oh, why did they move? Or why is this so? Why does one parent live in one country and another in a different country? No, simply allow them and invite them to share what is it that they represented, which countries. And if they want, they can share. Of course, it's not like we are pushing on them to say something. So this is one version. Another version is that you can go a step higher or further, and invite them to represent this with people. We tried several times with youth, and this was the activity that they liked the most. They were choosing countries or places where they were born, where their parents come from, and the places where they want to move maybe in the future. And it was amazing how it was working. They were totally hooked. We would just choose, I don't know, one person for Croatia, another one for Latvia, the third one for Russia, I don't know which combination. And then they were in space, simply moving until they reached their final position. And we would simply ask them to say how they feel, where their focus is, how they feel in relationship to other people. And the person who was representing their map could not actually believe that others were able to feel all of those things and recognize and see these relationships.
And you can watch our next video about the body and body movements, and there you will find some insights how you can use representatives of the constellation as a real persons, and what kind of sensations you are taking into consideration, what you can notice, how the body is reacting, what are the movements. So you can see that in the next video. Marcela, what about this workshop? What does it give to you? What does it? What's the meaning of this workshop?
Mm-hmm. Yes, again, I would say the same as the one with family. It creates a sense of belonging to a wider system. It also helps with the identity to recognize which parts of our identity come from each of these places, because many times I joke about our Balkan blood. And this is something that I identify with, and it is common like this that we do, because this is what makes us special. This is what makes us different from others, and it helps us also to relate with other people on the same level, and to have this understanding that we are all so different, and yet we are so human at the same time. Doesn't matter all of these combinations, somehow we all have our own unique experience.
I can add to that again, as in previous workshop, we can embrace diversity. How diverse we are, how there are no one single person or one single family that it is the same. It's really rich diversity, and how we are all in certain moment connected, how the countries are connected, how we are connected as human beings. And it increases this sense of belonging to each other, support to each other, to the sense of security also, that yeah, maybe I live in village, but I am still connected with the closest town, with the closest city. So it is giving this wider picture of where I'm coming from and creating this sense of belonging to my own community, and in the same time for the world as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yes. And I would also add, like in the previous one, it gives strength. It is really a very strong resource. And sometimes I hear my mother joke about me, like, who do you get your smartness from? And then she says, oh, it must be from this and this, like 5 generations ago. But it's I would say it's a very important resource to recognize all of these parts of us, of our identity, where we belong. And I have noticed a huge change in myself. First of all, when I have realized that in my family system there is more than 50 different nationalities that were somehow connected through different events, through connections that seem random, but they're not random at all. So I would say it's a very, very powerful way how to empower those youth and make them more independent, that they draw the resources and the strength from all of these that is in their background.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Marcela. So these are 2 workshops, how you can easily use Constellation as a method, and the different kind of resources. If you have any questions or you want to clarify something that we just shared about these 2 workshops, don't hesitate to ask us, to write us on the Facebook page, and we are here to support you. We are here to give you our insights. But again, try it out. Try out, set up your own constellation, set up your own family exhibition and your chart, and how do you see it. Try out your own map, where do you belong to, and yeah, share with youngsters, share your own stories as well, because that's very nicely connecting us together. So this was the video about these 2 workshops, and in the next video you will see also the workshops how to use constellations using the body, and also other contexts where you can use a constellation as a method. Thank you so much, and see you in another video.